I can't honestly remember when I knew I had depression. Part of me wants to say it was around the age of 10. The other part says it's been here my whole life, but I think that's just a twisted romantic part of me and it seems a bit much. Either way, I've always been attracted to gaming to get me out of the funk. I'm fairly sure my first console was a Nintendo 64 with a briefcase full of games that I can't really recall too well. I could tell you that the obvious games like Mario Kart 64 and GoldenEye 007 were in there. From then on, I pretty much had every console despite growing up poor. I guess that's just what happens when you have parents who had nothing and want their kid to have everything. I always had choices. Which world did I want to go into and lose myself in? It didn't matter too much what I chose. The most popular places were usually Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z games, platformers, and on occasion whatever FPS was popular at the time. I didn't get too much into those though until late middle school. There was never a co-op buddy in my adventures. I wasn't raised alongside my siblings. Even when they were around, I was the youngest, which automatically made me annoying. Looking back at how I played multiplayer games alone hit me harder than I thought it would. The neighborhood kids typically stuck to their own houses when we weren't outside, just being kids. So it'd just be me and whatever game let me play with AI. There's only so much fun you can have going against a CPU in Mario Party, Budokai, GoldenEye, etc. Honestly, I'm surprised it lasted so long doing it the way I did. I put real hours into Timesplitters Future Perfect on my own custom-made maps and always the infection mode. Grand Theft Auto Vice City was a bit different since it was single player, but giving all civilians weapons and putting the chaos mode cheat in was a real riot. I used to create my own little narratives and see how long I could survive. And for the cherry on top, could you believe I had the audacity to think I was good at Smash Brothers? I could beat level 9 CPU in Melee and boasted my accomplishment to people, but never actually playing them. Cut to Smash 4 and Ultimate, of course, when I finally actually got to taste local competition, and it didn't go so well. At this point, it's obvious my little creative adventures inspired the thought of being some kind of writer for a career in my life. It's unfortunate that I've scrapped basically everything I've done, aside from most of these videos. I couldn't really escape video games. If I told you that I wasn't really a person till 17, I wouldn't really be lying. I just sorta existed. There was a shell, pretty much a neat. It took the death of my father to put a spark of life into me, and I hate it. I had to go so far down in order to actually start climbing up. There have been a couple times in my life up to the point where video games couldn't distract me to how empty I felt. Fatigue on the only thing I knew, video games. I was so scared of it. By the time it started happening, I think around 8th grade, I had my own little party of Xbox Live friends I talked to on a daily basis. I'd voice my dread on not enjoying Halo anymore, afraid I'd just sit back and lose my friends as they continued on normally. What would I even do without games? I didn't have a future, bad grades, very small and selective social life, parents who loved me, but I was so distant that they couldn't do anything even if they tried, which they did. Thankfully, gaming fatigues never lasted too long and were often spread far apart, with no real rhythm. Internal struggle has been a common theme, with games mixed in there as both a hero and a villain. It's easy to deal with some years, not so easy with others. Thankfully, I still have a deep love for the art that's carried me through my life and shaped me. I've come to think of the people who made these journeys I experienced, in my eyes, as rock stars. It doesn't matter how big or small the game is. I got to know someone over the years who's been developing a game with his brother, and I always loved their updates. I finally went to PAX West this year and got a chance to interview several developers. It was a truly dope experience. I only hope the questions I asked and the time I spent with them didn't feel like a waste. These people are living their dreams, some while still maintaining the daily grind outside of development. And honestly, I can't wait to meet more people like that and hear their stories and see what worlds they're creating. This was a landmark year for me as I finally got around to beating the anxieties and depression to actually upload videos to YouTube. I really wanted to make my own art and put myself out there, form my own community, or even join an existing one to actually experience life in my own way. Video games gave a lot to me and I wanted to give it back. To be honest, I still don't know how I'm doing. I get stuck in a sea of self-pity and it's hard to get out and I generally feel hopeless. These past few months on top of the normal depression has been seasonal affective disorder and it's messed me up real bad. But I'm actually quite terrified that since I finally started making videos and getting more involved, that it's going to get taken away from me. It isn't about clout or money. I'm just trying to give it my all and make art people like. I'm sure there are people out there who would see this video and think it has no purpose, just some dude being sad on a mic, and I get it, but I hope you'll just allow me this one. I think I needed to make this. This year has been simultaneously better and worse than some have been in the past, and I'm glad I wrote this. It was tough to do. Confronting your fears is one of the bravest things to do, after all. I just wish I hadn't waited so long to do it. I wish that I didn't have to deal with the constant depression. I haven't had to deal with fatigue in a while. 2019 has been a solid year for games, and I'm trying my best to give back to the gaming community with how much it has given me. I really hope I can do something that matters, and be more than just a person who exists. Thank you for listening.